Moving on to the session for today, I am more than pleased to introduce our moderator for the day, TJ Lightwala. I will give a really small introduction on her, and then I'll hand it over to you, TJ. So as the experience services lead for Accenture Interactive in the Middle East, TJ Lightwala is responsible for growing the end-to-end experience services business to transform the client's businesses using data-driven, innovative, and transparent solutions. With nearly 2 decades of industry experience spanning the US and Middle East, TJ Lightwala joined Accenture Interactive after completing 7 years leading regional digital specialized solutions at WPP's Group MENA and its subsidiary Mindshare. And prior to that, at Denso-owned iProspect, she is a board member of the Mobile Marketing Association and actively involved in the digital marketing community in Dubai. So without further ado, TJ, handing over to you.
Okay, good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Today's discussion is all around the business of experience and how marketers are changing the role models of marketing in their corporations and in their categories as well. So just a little bit of a background and information on how I'm going to set the scene. I wanted to introduce Mehdi, who's the CMO of L'Oreal Middle East, Vikram Krishna, who's the Executive Vice President of Emirates NBD, heading up group marketing and customer experience, and Dr. Tamer Al-Toni, who's the head of digital services and devices at Etisalat and the CEO of eWallet in the region for Etisalat. So we are in presence of a very glowing company of top-level CMOs in the region. So welcome to the panel, gentlemen, and we'll get started right away. So marketers are facing unprecedented levels of change and fragmentation, right? Competitive, customer, economic, technological, and regulatory. And so, we suffer from overly complex ecosystems, yes, shrinking and siloed budgets, especially in the light of COVID, even then some fragmented technologies, and yet we must continue delivering on our brand purpose and driving performance and efficiency at scale. Having set that context, I want to understand from you, each of you, and I'll come to the questions. We have been experiencing rapid digitization, changes in consumer mindset, the idea and the ability to stay relevant and drive business growth. And yet this idea of having liquid expectations seems to be front and center these days. And what do I mean by liquid expectations? I mean that we have a wonderful Zuma and a wonderful hotel stay at the Ritz-Carlton. And so we look for those similar experiences and customer delight in each of the categories that we live and use, whether it be as simple as telecommunication or using frictionless banking services at a click of our button, or ordering our favorite, skin lotion on e-commerce portals. So, having said that and built that context, I want to share with you that because liquid expectations have changed, how in your category has mindsets changed to adapt for that change in terms of customer behavior, and what have you done differently against customer value? So Vikram, I start with you first.
Thank you for picking on me. So as marketers, it's always a struggle to keep up, right? So I think that's been pretty much the mainstay for the last year or so post-COVID, which is how do you do business differently? How do you interact with customers such that they see meaning in the relationship that you share? Mm-hmm. How do you come up with new mechanisms of interaction? So, for example, a lot of us belong to fairly traditional sectors, right? You want to meet your banker, you want to sit and have a cup of coffee with them sometimes, hopefully. You want to visit a branch. But now, because of because of restrictions, it's very, very different. So therefore, what does customer experience really mean in that context? How do you build relationships? How do you build those connections? So I think it's been for everybody else, it's been a big shift in the way we operate. There's a lot more focus now on developing a mindset of innovation and risk-taking, because what worked 6 months back doesn't work anymore. So that's one big theme, which is that how do we do things differently? Second is that how do we serve customers a lot more efficiently? So essentially rethinking customer journeys and seeing, is there a better way to operate, and how can we then, using that context, make a difference in our customers' life. Third big theme is about technology. So which is about, how do we leverage some of the latest, technologies available to make a difference in customers' life. And more importantly in that, it's not just about buying the latest technology, it's about using it successfully and making sure that your people are trained to use those technologies and, are available to make that difference. So it's been a mixed bag of experiences, but I think it's been tremendous learning on the way.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that insight. I think technologies, experiences, and I think the ability to use those technologies efficiently is paramount, right? Mary, what about you? I know there are lots of interesting pivots that L'Oreal is making in the region around, usage and customer mindset and expectations and journeys. Would you like to comment?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, TJ, and I'm super happy to be with you this afternoon, and very humbled as well to be with the rest of the panelists. So yeah, I think COVID changed a lot of things. Probably, I mean, I don't. What I want to say as well from the L'Oreal angle and from my personal as well perspective on when I reflect about the last 18 months is that probably a lot of things, like a lot of trends have existed for a long time. It just we were probably not ready enough all together, collectively and individually, to accelerate on them. And then COVID made everyone realize that yes, these trends that we've been talking about, we've been just seeing in slides or in visions for the next 5-10 years, have materialized in a few weeks. And I think this helped a little bit for marketers. It's super exciting because you move then from kind of like a storytelling where you need to convince everyone about something and then build the future to say okay, it's happening, so we need to go fast. And I think I personally, if I have to keep something positive out of this 18 months is this, the agility that I've seen in the industry overall, and not only for L'Oreal, but for all the players. So all the ecosystem matured in a super fast way, and everyone had to adapt and create these experiences that you were just mentioning, and that Vikram as well just mentioned, in terms of technology, in terms of consumer experience, everything came together at the same time. And for L'Oreal, I think what really helped us a lot is that we have some visionary people as well in the company who have been vouching and promoting this vision of the future, saying okay, by 2025, by 2023, 80% of our interactions, they will be online, 50% of our business will be on e-commerce, 100% of probably as well of our media will be on digital. So we had somehow, we've been trying to get ready, as I mentioned, to this level, but overnight we had to do the shifts that it was more kind of we've done them in a survival mode, and probably with less emotional discussions than usual, because in the marketing or just in the corporate world, you have a lot of emotions and everyone has an opinion. I think COVID just made us all agree on the same things.
That's really valuable. And I love the fact that we're going 100% e-commerce, that we're focusing 100% digital, because I mean, we've all got digital, right? Exponential drive to facilitate all of those people who used to have the tangible touch and feel store experience, to bring them all online. And when you bring them on online, there are people who are typically not ready to be serviced online because they're new to online spaces. And so now we have across the funnel, we have people who are, extremely adapted to being online. And then you of how consumer journeys and expectations will need to change to reflect on our products. Dr. Tamer, over to you on what your reflections are in terms of the changes that Etisalat has been making in the last several months, and even on its road to digitization.
Thank you, and I tend to agree with Mahdi. The COVID has made us all align on certain activities together, whether organizations or consumers. And for us, we as at Salat, it was very important for us to bring connectivity at a most reliable phase. Salat has announced in December that we have the fastest network on earth, having speeds of up to 9 gigabits per second in terms of 5G connectivity. And connectivity was not only about mobile. Our homes have turned into our schools, into our working place, into our gym, into a complete facility that serves us across different moments of our life, and accordingly getting the most reliable connectivity with the latest speeds and a very low latency, so that you can continue whatever you used to do physically remotely. And it was a new thing for everyone, even school kids. It was a new experience to get online. So it's not only about the business, it was all about changing our lifestyles completely. And this is a global impact in no time, and how people, and it was really amazing how people started to adapt. And accordingly, based on this, we saw the trends in terms of internet usage, in terms of adoption of m-commerce and mobile commerce. We saw a complete diversion and change in terms of the government services. We have seen lots of entities that was mainly physical have all turned to become digital and digital online, trying to give the best experience and trying to give a frictionless experience where everything can be done without the physical presence, taking into consideration, of course, lots of parameters like security, like data privacy, and things of that sort.
Okay, well, thank you, Dr. Tamer, as well, because I mean, the one resounding theme is that everything is getting digital. All the experiences are getting digital, technology enablers and the investments that the categories are making are getting digital and digitally focused to create seamless journeys. Over to the next question, and I want to reflect on the word innovation. Innovation means different things in each category. And innovation can be, a launch of an interesting AI platform. It could be a digitally native robo-advisor that shows you the next best action. And it could be a number of different things. It could be beauty tech that analyzes skin conditions and therefore the right products. It could be pivoting to the next CRM journey. I would like to just share, the idea that in this ecosystem of innovation, if we can build on the stories around data and technology and what digital breadcrumbs we're leaving behind to generate greater share of digital adoption, greater share of retention and share of wallet, that would be great to even set the stage of why digital and innovation go hand in hand. Over to you, and this time I pick on Mehdi to go first.
Thank you. And I think probably the question going to be very different for me versus like MSMPG or versus Etisalat, because when on product goods, I think it was even more like the change was even more dramatic, or like as well like this innovation pressure to get closer to the consumer in terms of data, in terms of loyalty, in terms of everything, is a completely different aspect. I started my career in telco as well, like it's 15 years ago. So, and I saw like the shift when you move from technology, from services to goods. It's a very different battle. So typically for us, before we used to be like 100% of our business was offline, which means that we go through distributors, through retailers, and we don't have access to the consumer at the end of the day. Like we obviously have consumer engagement through different platforms, but like on the day-to-day, on transactional point of view, it's not happening. So we don't sit on this amount of data. We don't know our consumers that much, etc. So obviously with the shift of going a little bit from offline to online, today like weight of business of e-commerce is already like 2 digits. So it's still like not huge, but it's a consistent part of our business. So this allows us a lot of things. First of all, like to get to know our consumers better, because we can serve them directly, and this change a lot. Comes with its own challenges, obviously, but also with the benefits of knowing the consumers, on being able to address the consumers in a better way. The second thing that obviously this allows for companies like ours is making sure that we can control a little bit more the experience as well, and from a discovery point of view. So before, mostly like what we call conversions, or like transactions will happen on the store. But today, like obviously with for example, you mentioned AI, and I can give you like one very specific example. So what we have developed at L'Oréal is a very strong solution with the company that we acquired 2 years ago, which is very like it's tech company, and typically like again, company goods they will never buy a tech platform, a tech company, but like we invested in this company. Its name is Modiface, and it's basically AI and VR company that provides virtual reality like try-ons and through virtual reality at the comfort of your home, in your phone, etc. So if you want to buy a makeup, or TJ, if you want to change your hair color, you can do it, and you can check the color you want, and then probably like buy and get the recommendation. Also, like for skincare, you can go through like a very deep analysis of your skin, and it's accurate not to 90% if you go do it at the dermatologist, and it gives you a clear routine of what you need to buy, what can buy, what kind of routine you need to follow, etc. So this kind of interactions we've never had the chance to do them before. Going a little bit more digital, then we are able, of course, now to understand consumers know what kind of skin type they have, what kind of lipstick they like to use. See, also because we own more than 25 beauty brands in the region, so we're able to scale and bring a lot of synergies between the brands and make connections between segments, etc. So this kind of CRM as well, where we work with Accenture, but typically are things that are for me like super valuable and that are very exciting for marketeers in my industry. I know like probably on the that looks like 10 years ago information for for the services industry. So I'll be also curious to know how what kind of innovations have surfaced or have came into place recently.
Wonderful, Mehdi. Thank you for that insight on Modiface. And just a quick comment from the audience is that if we can speak a little bit louder and a little bit slower, so we can just take into consideration that. Thank you, Mehdi, again. So it's called Modiface. I remember that. It's a pretty cool piece of tech and hopefully very AI focused on analyzing skin and hair type and providing the right recommendations. Thank you for that. Dr. Tamer, what about yourself, and how is innovation looking like for Etisalat in the region, and from a consumer point of view as well? How are we going to see the benefits of that?
Thank you so much for the question. The thing is, creativity, technology, and data. These three are the main pillars for the current era and what to come next. And accordingly, based on that, we look into what we can offer our customers. And one of the services that we have launched as part of support what has been going on in order to enhance the customer experience was offering international money remittance through e-wallet. And this was an e-wallet is our stored value account. It's our payment service that you can download and utilize. You don't need to pay any fees. You just need your mobile number, whether it's an active mobile number from any operator across the UAE. It's not only for Etisalat. And accordingly, you can register with your Emirates ID, and then you have an account. You can start transacting. One of the services that we offered is that instead of going to exchange houses for, and as you clearly know, that UAE is a remittance hub. There is more than 168 billion dirham going out in terms of money remittance every year in the UAE. So instead of going to exchange houses, you can simply, through the e-wallet, you can transfer money to anywhere in the world. And it's just a matter of minutes that you need to put the details and the money is out from your wallet to wherever you want it to land. So this was one of the services that we consider as an innovative digital end-to-end experience, where the money transacts from the minute you pull it from your bank up to the minute it reaches to the other side. Another service that we have looked into and we have launched recently is digital insurance. So we are now into the business of offering you health, O2, and travel insurance. So you can go to the Etisalat app, you can purchase an insurance policy in a matter of minutes. And these policies are customized. You don't need to interact with any agents. It's fully digital and it serves different segments and different needs.
Thank you. So it sounds like that a traditionally telco company is now becoming a super app of nature, where it's powering out financials, to a certain extent, financial services and financial needs, insurance, health and wellness, and potentially even, advertising, right? So very good. Thank you. Vikram, over to you.
So, for us, the way we define innovation is how do we create opportunities to prosper for customers of our community, and how can we sort of bring that all together to deliver that value that customers and stakeholders expect from us. So in that, I want to make a few sort of comments in terms of how our journey has been. One is focus on new product development and new businesses. So we've launched Live, which was the first digital lifestyle bank in the country of the scale that it is now. So it's almost got 400,000 customers, and it is amongst the fastest growing banks in the country and in the region. So that's been very interesting for us because it targeted a very different demographic, which was digital first. So these were essentially millennials, and they have different ways in which they want to interact with banks, and they have a certain style of interaction as well. So we, as bankers, took our eyes off, and we launched Live, and we've been delighted by the experience. You can open up a bank account in a couple of minutes, and that's been something that is a constantly evolving journey. The other one that is interesting for people in this forum is E20, and that's again a bank for the business community. It's got a very simple, easy to access, mobile only proposition, and once again, it's easy to open an account with E20 and get started. So those are two very interesting ones. In addition to that, we've also enhanced a lot of our services. So for example, we have this, I think Tamer mentioned earlier about remittances. So 60 seconds, it's all it takes to remit money to different parts of the world through Emirates NBD. It's an incredibly popular product. You can also pay using MePay, and there are a whole lot of other bells and whistles that we've added to the entire banking relationship, just to make sure that the experience is better. On top of that, there are a lot of offers that are on all the time with the bank. We have almost 2,500 partners across the UAE. And these could be across food and beverages, telcos, digital products, e-com platforms. And we're trying to make sure that wherever the customer is, wherever they're spending, and that's of course using our understanding of analytics and data science, we are able to then seamlessly enter into those spaces and offer value that differentiates the bank and contributes towards our customers' success. I can go on, but there's lots going on.
I know. So Vikram, I know we are time boxed, and otherwise all three of you, I spend the whole day with you and not be done. So I just wanted to ask one question from the area that I selfishly come from. And, we are working with you in so many different facets, right? And the key area is performance marketing, the idea of outcomes-based marketing. And so when we think about outcomes-based marketing, of course, we think about the customer at the heart of the equation. Of course, we want to provide frictionless services to them. But more than that, how has the numbers, grown for you when we think of implementing and making investments in people, in partnership, in technology that actually can drive digital adoption, digital sales, digital acquisition? I'd love to hear just a few numbers. That's it.
So it's been a game changer for us specifically as an industry. So we see from, across different products, anywhere from 25% to 40% of monthly sales coming in through performance marketing. We've also seen over the last 3 years, our cost of acquisition is probably 1/5 of what it used to be, because as we get more and more efficient at it, as we capture more and more data, we're able to analyze it, develop lookalike modeling, are able to also fine tune our offers. So our cost of acquisition is continuing to grow down. Third is the utilization of technology. So we're using AI a lot in performance marketing. So we've one of the relationships that we're actually quite excited about is with a company called Persado. And what Persado allows us to do is that, you have an offer, it immediately converts that using your brand assets into 15 different variations. And then you launch those variations on social media with a $100 budget. And within a day, you have a rank ordering of what's working and what's not. And the difference between the top 3 and the bottom 3 could be a 10x in terms of click-through rate. So all of these have been very, very key in terms of, enabling the organization in becoming a lot more efficient when it comes to performance marketing.
Wonderful. Dr. Tamer or Mehdi, would you like to add any insight on that? On performance marketing and the value of digital adoption and the cost of acquisition, efficiencies and effectiveness in our world?
Oh, definitely. I tend to agree with Vikram 100%. It's always going down because more and more customers are getting online, so the cost of acquiring these customers digitally is definitely less. Yet it's a bit challenging. So equivalently, we are excited and yet terrified because the thing is, if you look at the UAE alone, there is 9.7 million internet active customers. So it's around 98% of the population already on the internet. And accordingly, it's the race here and the challenge is how to reach these customers with the relevant information, knowing the clutter that's there online. So these customers are bombarded with so many information, so many advertising, and the strength here is how to bring the brand at the forefront of all this clutter in an efficient fashion that is not disturbing to the customer. So I would like to be watching my TV and getting relevant advertising that makes sense to me rather than just wasting my time out of 10 ads, maybe only one that is relevant to me. So here where technology and AI and machine learning plays a big role in order to how to utilize this data and get out of it knowledge that can be relevant to the customer and to serve the customer better. And this takes us to the next level, which is how you can take the customer from the level of awareness and then conversions and then moving him into a frictionless journey. And the journey can start anywhere. The journey can start while I'm watching the TV. The journey can start while I'm on Facebook. The journey can start even if I'm in the store. And we have all seen that even the customer behavior and the customer purchase pattern have changed a lot. So the customer could start the journey in a store, but end the journey online and vice versa.
Yeah, I think it's the value of m-commerce, social commerce, the ability to buy directly through very engaging and immersive experiences on the social channels, especially with the shopping experiences that have come up, interactive experiences that have come up on, might not be 100% relevant, but also TikTok, and more relevant is Instagram. The role of shoppable ads on videos, it's all engaging in the way that we create more demand. Mehdi, any reflections from your side? Thank you, Dr. Tamer.
Yeah, I will just try to add a bit of insights from coming as well again from a different industry. So performance marketing was not as strategic for us, to be honest, before. Simply because again, back to the same topic, we couldn't track exactly the conversions and what's the end result of this. But again, when COVID happened, we moved 100% of our media investments to performance marketing overnight. So we had to, we had to learn and to adapt, and then of course to see the value as well of each element. And I think now probably the most interesting element for the next months and for the future is to solve this dilemma of upper funnel, lower funnel, performance marketing, branding marketing, because I think the lines are getting super blurred. And exactly like Tamer said, like the journey can start anywhere and can end anywhere as well. So it's again TV. It's not because I'm not the biggest fan of TV as a media, because of course you cannot customize, personalize, and do much in terms of content, and also the cost of advertising is super high. But so far we have that, like, probably if the measurement agenda in the region during Saudi was better, we would be in a better position as well to understand what kind of reach we deliver precisely on specific target audience. I don't know, like for me, like typically like on women rather than male target group, on each age group, and probably also in terms of conversions. And like even if you see on the offline, like on the branding, traditional media like TV with the SVOD, and with the also like the extension of online, that this big format, this big content platforms can bring. I think there is a lot of value that we should not, as marketers, underestimate. And I think this is really what's we're trying to solve. It's like, okay, what is the right balance? Not go extreme on performance marketing and just be very transactional and get this short-term revenue return on ad spend of $4, $5, $6. And yes, it's super sexy, interesting, and we want to get this money back. Or sometimes as well, like to be a little bit more conservative and say like, okay, fine, like we're still in the stage of building brands, of acquiring consumers in the long run, and we need to be able to have this O+O online offline approach, holistic, where yes, we think consumer journey and we try to measure everything, because that's the problem. The performance marketing, it's great because you can measure it, but it's not because you cannot measure the rest that you need to give up on it. So I think yes, solving this equation is probably what's gonna be very interesting over the next years, specifically for industries like us that have to do like big shifts. Now we kind of, okay, where do we need to sit, and what's the optimal mix in terms of marketing? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's really, it offers a great segue to the question that I want to ask next is, obviously all of you have been keeping ahead with the new news of the deprecating cookie. And once the cookie starts deprecating, although we've got an extension for 2 more years, so we still have those 2 more years from Google's recent news, you are all first-party data owners. You own your telco data, you own your banking data. Somehow on your social platforms or on your website, that becomes your first-party data. What are audiences that are freely available through advertising to us?
Maybe I can complete on that, because I think this is one of the most passionate topics that I'm interested about. And I don't think like there's a relief of 2 years, honestly. Like, yes, Google, they announced that there's a 2 years, but like if you look at Facebook and like iOS 14 is already, and like we know the adoption of iPhone and the iOS as well in the region is super high. So we already in there, and that's exactly was a little bit my point before, that we will probably also be able to less and less track performance marketing in a way, because of this legal like involvement. And honestly, I'm super, like, okay, as a marketer, like it's a headache, and I have some sleepless night on sometimes, like to justify my results, budgets, etc. But from a personal point of view, I think it's a fantastic what's happening in the industry, because it's bringing more transparency, it's bringing as well more credibility, and we have seen as well with COVID that driven, like purpose-driven brands have like a better chances to survive and to add value, etc. So for me, like this is gonna be also a big interesting topic for the future, which is first of all how I think for me, like everything is back to consent, and consent, like, and when like your consumer is happy and free to give you his or her own data, and then allows you to engage with them, then I think this is like probably the best scoring KPI that you can get from a consumer, because you have the consent to engage and the consumer is interested generally in you. So then yes, it's your role to find the right offer, the right approach, the right words, the right everything to serve this consumer. And it means that you have done something correct to get the attention of this consumer. And this is exactly like typically for me today. I can tell you, like, maybe we should not say brands examples, but I have like a list of brands that I'm super happy to share like everything that about me, about myself, like really even super private informations and data, because I see the value. And this could be like your smartwatch, could be like your gym tracker, could be like your travel agency, could be something else. You want to give more information to get the best offer. And yes, there's some brands where I don't want them to know anything about me, and I'm super frustrated. I would love like just to cut them off for forever. So that's kind of, I mean, like from a consumer angle, like how you position yourself within the brands that can add value, and then instead of just spreading your budget, like what we call in media the famous spray and pray. Like, okay, I serve everyone, and then probably I'll get some engagement at the end of the day.
Right.
So I think yes, this is for me, like just to answer your question.
Wonderful.
Sorry, like I was a little bit long and maybe a little bit over passionate about this topic.
Yeah, you're passionate, and I like that, because I like the angle of consent management, because at the end of the day, the consumer really owns the data. Whether our organization is the safeguard or the guardian of that data, the consumer actually owns the data, and consent management could be an interesting way to build on that. Moving on to the question that is also probably very passionate and close to all our hearts is the talents in our organization. What is an ideal marketer for you? That would be really interesting to know for me. And the second, and for the audience as well, and the second is, are our organizations, as large as we are, equipped at the executive levels to create the change that we as marketers are envisioning in our strategy? So 2 questions. What does an ideal marketer look like for you? And are we organizationally ready with the right talents? Dr. Tamer, do you want to go first?
Sure. Well, we have to balance between human creativity and machine creativity. And the thing is, with more machines coming in picture, what you are raising as a challenge is the real challenge, because nowadays we have machines buying from machines. So it's not only that people going online and buying, there are bots that are buying from bots, and the algorithm is capable of doing the transaction in milliseconds and taking the decision. So this puts huge pressure on human beings, is that how can you keep on developing yourself? How can you be capable of putting the human element on top of the creativity of the machines so that it brings out what makes sense to the customers? And saying so, I think from my perspective, the marketeers of the future are more into data analytics, are more into customer insights, are more into design thinking, and how to design a completely digital end-to-end experience for the customer without, as you mentioned clearly, violating the privacy of the customer, custodian for the data and the information, and how to utilize it in a fashion that really serves in an appropriate fashion.
Sure. That's fantastic. Vikram, any insights from your side?
Yeah, I just feel that the marketer of the future has to don many hats, and without putting another acronym into the universe, I have this acronym STACKS. So essentially, I believe that chief marketing officers of the future need to be chief storytellers, because that's what we always were, and that's what we need to be in the future as well. Yes, performance marketing is here, and it's here to stay for the right reasons. But the world wants to fall in love, the world wants to sing a song, and the world wants to dance, right? That's not going to change. Okay. Is the chief marketing officer needs to be the chief technology officer. So whether you're selling to a customer, you're selling to a bot, and you're doing that and how you're interacting with it requires a deep understanding So the third A is analytics. So it's all about understanding who the customer is, what do they want, and how do we make sure we make products and services available to them in a manner that creates value. C is about customer experience, and the chief marketing officer has to be the chief customer officer as well, which is what I am, incidentally. Also, the chief marketing officer needs to be the chief knowledge officer, because there's so much changing all around us that it's so difficult to keep track of what's going on, right? So how do you make sure that your front end, your marketing teams, your sales agents, they know what's going on, and they're able to use that knowledge and understanding, which is available organization wide in that interaction, right? So if I'm going to a store and interacting with that agent should be able to quickly get access to the organizational intelligence and make that available in that interaction. And the nice balance. Incredibly complicated, but very exciting. Very, very exciting. And that just makes our job, just so much more richer. And I just find it fascinating the impact that CMOs in the future can make to organizations' growth and organization success.
Yeah, and incidentally, you mentioned sustainability, and right before we went live, we were talking about sustainability. And, you mentioned sustainability as a part of Stacks. Is there a reason for that particular journey in your mind?
Yeah, it's a very personal journey. So I'm a bit of a climate change evangelist. So, I wear a tie to work, but I'm a greenie.
Okay.
And also, I'm deeply involved in protecting forests in different parts of the world. So along with my wife, we have a social enterprise called Sacred Groves, where you can actually participate in protecting forests and preserve our natural habitat. So it's a very personal journey for me, and I think I bring a bit of that to work as well.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful to hear. And, obviously we at TIE always welcome people with several different hats and the opportunity to give back to our entrepreneurs and our SMEs and our startups. So that's lovely to hear. To Tamara, Dr. and Mehdi, I would love to hear your view on the marketer of the future and also to get here.
Or like the CMO of the future, more like a unicorn. Like I think it's gonna be someone very difficult to find. And I tend to agree. Like the job is getting more and more complex, more and more demanding, and it's like the traditional CMO that I have been exposed to when I started my career 15, 16 years ago is completely like different versus the ones where we are like different pressure, different expectations in terms of technology. Technology was not at all an element of this mix, and this is already like something probably very, very complex to manage. I think probably, yes, I agree, a storyteller, and I would add passion, because at the end of the day, if you don't have the passion for the job, it's going to be very difficult to drive change, because probably even if the context is changing as well, what remains very fundamental is the consumer focus and being consumer centric. And as cliche as this can sound, if you don't have the passion for your consumer and for your product or for your brand, you will do something wrong at one point of time, and you will not be able really to achieve great results. So I think, yeah, this would be probably like the biggest element is passion. And on just like, I think probably that's what I try to do every day, making sure that I share this passion with my organization, with my teams, with all the stakeholders,
Yeah.
and that I
Yeah, and I think also one thing that you resoundingly said, all of you, is the fact that we are going to need more design thinkers. We're going to need a lot more people who understand customer journeys better. We're going to need people who not only can implement technologies, but can also apply the context of those technologies in marketing organizations to drive demand. And also we need people who are futurists in a way that can think about what and how customers really liked to connect with and engage with. So it's the immersive experiences is really the crux of the future of experiences. That the fact that there is no hymn sheet or written sheet where we have to follow. It's all about an experimentation mindset and the ability to sort of grow and automate in a manner that can bring efficiencies and scales to our organizations, is what I'm hearing overarchingly. I am going to start taking questions because I've been receiving a lot of interesting questions from the audience. So if we can unmute the line and have one of the questions go live, that would be great, team.
That was by mistake. He messaged me saying Roberto put his hand up by mistake. But he messaged to say it's a good session.
Okay. Is there another question? I saw two hands. Okay. Roberto is a representative of Microsoft for startups, so that's a really great compliment. Thank you. Is there any other questions that wants to go live, or shall I take questions from the conversation?
From the Q&A, and I think a couple of people have put it in chat.
Okay,
it would be best to put it in the Q&A button, the audience, if you can put your questions there. Otherwise, it tends to get lost among the chat.
Wonderful. So I have a question here. How do you think the Industry 4.0 automation will affect digital marketing in your respective sector? So let's just say how Industry 4.0 will disrupt, the future of marketing in your sectors. Any one person can go, whoever feels like they wanna take a cut on it. And I'm thinking you mean the Industrial Revolution 4.0, which is the future of experiences and the future of bringing a lot of AI and ML into the equation as well. Anyone have a point of view there, or
yeah, I can maybe like just probably for beauty give just a few insights. I think for us the biggest revolution that we are getting ready for is the customization and the extreme personalization, I would say, and this would be possible only with this coming like with the new capabilities in terms of for the industry that we will see, and being able to customize at scale is something that's going to be very interesting. So as we discussed in the beginning of the call, using AI and AR to really give the specific to serve every consumer based on skin type, on specific events, on specific needs, would be something super interesting that we are really passionate about today. So we have few pilot projects in different brands, different parts of the world, but today we're not able still to scale because of the cost. And I think it's the revolution that the Industry 4.0 that would be will allow us probably to go a little bit further on this aspect.
Yeah, and I can also take this question. I think the Industry 4.0 looks like a progression of the use of, when we think about 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0, it was the release of how comfortable we got with the idea of marketing and the idea of using the right kinds of data, the studying the audience behaviors, applying cross sectors, how the use of data in one sector could complement the other sector, making offers more rewarding, gamifying experiences, creating immersive content that could leave behind stories that people connected with. And for me, that confluence of using content, data with the right engagement, enabled by the right technologies, is really how we design around the 4.0 model, with just more attention given to the idea that audiences are groups of people who have commonalities, and every grouping, every cohort could exhibit different kinds of behaviors and rewarded differently. And that mechanism of hyper-personalization and hyper-localization is where we are adapting to when we go to the sophistication of V 4.0. So I hope that answered your question. There is one more question that I'm going to take here, which is, it's a bit long. I'm finding it hard to read it. One second. What is the most influential marketing strategy that marketers have used to create a need?
Yeah, maybe I can take that. So
Sure.
I'm an Apple fan by a mile. So
Yes.
I love the fact that Apple just knows what we want, and they just deliver that consistently. So right from the Mac, which I use, my entire family has Macs, to the iPhone, to the, to the, the entire iPod experience. They just continue with it, and each time they release the next phone, it's full of so many bells and whistles, which are just so appealing. So I think the best marketing strategies for me personally is, number one, anticipate and create products that the world looks at and says, I always wanted this. Why didn't they release that earlier? Yeah. So I think that's my sort of take on marketing. Second take I have on marketing is about brands that are very connected and resonant with the way people are thinking right now, and are able to contribute to that thinking and drive the ethos of the culture forward. And I find some of the most iconic brands in the world, like for that matter, Nikes of the world, or even for that matter, the work that Coke has done or Pepsi does or Microsoft does, where you pick on topics that the world wants to hear large organizations taking a position in, because then it inspires them to move forward. So that's a second space that I think is really important for me, which is brands resonating with the times and providing an inspirational journey forward. That's really my top two. I have a long list always, but these are my all-time favorite top twos.
That's amazing. That's super. There's one, thanks for answering that, Vikram. And there's one last question I'm going to take before I start closing the session.
We have a raised hand as well, TJ.
Okay, go ahead, PK. First, I'll take the raised hand. PK, go ahead.
1 second, I need to just.
So PK just while he goes live, he's our chairman emeritus of TIE. So go ahead, PK.
Hey, TJ. Thank you very much for a great session. Great to see you, Vikram, here. Welcome to TIE's platform. It was an awesome session, TJ. Let me ask you a question on the lines that most of the people on the screen are people who will be considered people from the traditional industries, correct? People who are learning digital. You were marketers before digital came on. And now you are confronted with these people who are native digital, people who are far more nimble, they don't come with baggage. Your competing brands are now coming up in far shorter times and coming up like they're almost blindsiding you. How do you actually prepare for that, and how do you counter that? A lot of you have done it, so I'm sure you have kind of like learnings and playbooks probably, but it's becoming kind of a battle which is not between equals anymore. So any idea, any thought anyone would want to talk about?
I think this is a good question. Thank you for the question. I'll take this. I think the key answer here is putting the customer at the center of all what you are doing, regardless to the era. And I like the example about Apple and Apple products. And the key to success is when you design things for the way the people would like to see it working, and it works. So if you manage the expectations, if you design things in a fashion that really helps in adopting the product, that really helps in taking these experiences to the next level, and always whatever you add as an incremental is an addition to the experience rather than destroying or changing the experience for the sake of change. And this brings to the main pillars that I mentioned at the start, which is creativity plus technology plus data. So once you put these pillars into working, you come with a design of a product and a design of a strategy that would fulfill all these needs regardless to the era. So as we are today into the digital, maybe tomorrow we are into the machine to machine, maybe later you will find things that are really beyond. Our CTO has announced recently in the MWC that we are moving towards 6G, where 5G has been launched 2 years back. And 6G would be not from the Earth, it would be outside the Earth, so the connectivity would come from the satellites. So things are changing and the eras are changing, but at the end of the day, the consumer is the main unique thing across. And once you put him at the center of everything that you are doing, you serve him in the right fashion.
Thank you.
Can I add one? Add one element?
Thank you, Dr. Tamer, for that. Yes, please go ahead, Mehdi.
No,
Can never say no to you.
Thank you. No, I think that just I want to add one element, which is the best way to serve these young consumers is to have them with you in your teams, and making sure to this Gen Z have like a good representation in each organization, and then empower them and give them the space to create and to connect, because they will come out better than me or than the other generation with the right solutions and the right approach. And of course, it's like 10 times more challenging as leaders to manage this population. But at the end of the day, because they are completely different as well in terms of setup, and they are not having the same expectations. But yeah, probably this is for me I think if I have one advice, and I'm sure like probably we have young talents with us. So of course, if they want to apply as well for roles for L'Oréal, they can contact me on the LinkedIn page.
Oh wow! Is that wow? I would have loved to be a junior marketer.
Yeah, no, because we're always looking for great junior talents, and I think yes, this is I think probably where I feel having them with you better than against you. So that's a little bit kind of
Fantastic.
approach. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you. I mean, we have 2 more minutes, 1 more minute, and I just answer PK's question. For me, the two disruptive, areas that have really sort of made us rethink is telemedicine recently, because everybody is coming online with the idea of real-time application and need, and the ability for caregivers and doctors to be available for chronic illnesses and questions and answers. So it's an application of real-time analytics, artificial intelligence, and knowing the right location of the person, being able to give them. And the other one, which is Vikram, you mentioned, Liv, neobanks are exponentially rising everywhere across the globe, and the idea of payments disruption, peer-to-peer payments, rewards and payments, that entire ecosystem of experiences has just got changed the way we time boxed or boxed our 4 Ps before. And that's making us think differently and making us think from the starting point, which is perhaps not the starting point that we would think of as traditional marketers, but thinking about gamified experiences, rewards and returns, offers and experiences that are more sort of the sweet spot of the younger generation. All right, we are a minute from the hour, and I want to thank everybody. There are 2-3 questions that might have come up, and I promise to have them answered by our panelists. But thank you again, Vikram, Dr. Tamer, and Mehdi, for your time and insights on L'Oreal, Emirates, and BD, and Etisalat, and what each category is doing in the face of rapid digitization. This session is fully recorded for our audience, so we will post this on all our TIE channels, particularly the TIE YouTube channel, and highlights will be posted on our social media channels as well. So thank you, keep watching, and we welcome your feedback. Have a great evening.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, TJ. Thank you, buddy. Bye.
Thank you.